Stevens Inc. Stevens Inc. is a privately held, independent financial services firm headquartered in Little Rock, Arkansas. As one of the largest privately owned investment banks in the country, Stevens has 28 offices worldwide and employs more than 1,200 people. Warren A. Stevens is Chairman, President, and Chief Executive Officer of Stevens Inc. Founding and early history. In 1933, Whit Stevens founded W.R. Stevens Investments to trade Arkansas highway bonds, which at the time were selling for as low as pennies on the dollar. By the time the bonds paid off at par in the early 1940s, Stevens had gained a reputation for municipal bond expertise and providing sound financial counseling. In 1946, upon graduation from the U.S. Naval Academy, Jackson T. Jack Stevens joined his brother, and with a handshake, the two brothers formed Stevens Inc., and a partnership that lasted more than 45 years. The two brothers quickly began a series of acquisitions that would become a catalyst for the firm's growth and future. In 1945, Stevens purchased Arkansas-Oklahoma Gas Company in Fort Smith, Arkansas, and in 1953 acquired what is now Stevens Production, an independent oil and gas exploration company. In 1954, they purchased a controlling interest in the Arkansas-Louisiana Gas Company. In 1948, Stevens sold Sheridan Telephone Exchange to Allied Telephone Company, which later became Alltel Corporation, thus beginning a decades-long relationship that in part continues today. In 1956, Jack Stevens was named president and CEO of Stevens Inc., and Whit left the firm to become president and chairman of Arkansas-Louisiana Gas Company, while both retained their 50-50 share of Stevens Inc. Whit returned to Stevens in the early 1970s. Jack began to grow Stevens by providing private equity to many young growing companies, much in the way of the British merchant bank investing model, predating by decades the private equity endeavors of Wall Street firms. Jack's acumen as an investor was combined in remarkable fashion with his ability to form enduring personal relationships with his partners. Several generations of companies and business leaders came to know Jack as not only a smart investment banker, but as a loyal and reliable friend as well. Jack's influence grew well beyond Arkansas to the boardrooms of corporate America and to the halls of Washington, D.C. His opinions were constantly sought by investors, CEO, and politicians. Many of Stevens's private investments were quite successful. In the late 1960s, anticipating the coming revolution in bank data processing, Jack Stevens deployed excess computing capacity at Union Life Insurance Company, which was owned by him and his family. With $400,000 in startup capital invested, he created Systematics, which would later become a leader in the bank data processing industry. Systematics was eventually acquired by Alltel Corporation and became Alltel Information Services. AIS was later acquired by Fidelity National Information Systems. Walmart. In 1970, Stevens Inc., along with White Weld and Company, raised $4.95 million in an IPO for a small Arkansas-based discount retailer, Walmart Stores, Inc., owned by Sam Walton and his family. The capital, and subsequently raised capital, helped to fund Walmart's rise from $32 million in sales to the largest retailer in the world. Superdome. In 1971, Stevens Inc., together with First National Bank of Commerce, underwrote $113 million in tax-exempt bonds to help build the Louisiana Superdome. At that time, this was among the largest single tax-exempt bond issues in history, and Wall Street had turned it down. Worthen Bank. In 1983, the Stevens family invested in Worthen Banking Corporation, which was headquartered in Little Rock, Arkansas. In 1985, Worthen's capital was wiped out by the bankruptcy of Bevel, Bressler, and Shulman. A rights offering led by Jack Stevens was implemented, allowing shareholders to provide the funds necessary. In 1994, Worthen was sold to Boatmen's Bank shares, and 2 years later, Boatmen's was sold to Nations Bank, which in turn merged into Bank of America. 1986–2000. In 1986, Warren Stevens, Jack's son, was named Chief Executive Officer of Stevens, Inc. In 1989, Stevens advised Tyson Foods in its acquisition of Holly Farms, resulting in a $1.05 billion hostile takeover. In 1992, Stevens invested in Viking Range Corporation, providing the growth capital needed to seriously expand the company into a leading national brand. In 1993, Stevens purchased Donry Media, renaming it Stevens Media Group. When sold in 2015, Stevens Media Group's properties include the Las Vegas Review-Journal and daily and weekly papers. 2001–present. In 2006, Warren Stevens acquired 100% of Stevens, Inc. A little over a year later, the global economic crisis, triggered by the meltdown of the housing markets, severely impacted financial markets and posed a grave threat to all financial institutions. Having avoided the over-leveraging that brought down other investment firms, Stevens remained sound and continued to grow during this period. Since its acquisition by Warren Stevens, Inc., the Public Finance Department has experienced a 47% growth, the Private Client Group has grown 66%, the Research Department has experienced a 71% growth, and Investment Banking has grown 95%. Stevens Insurance, an affiliate of Stevens, Inc., has grown more than 6 times since the 2006 acquisition. Stevens Private Equity Group, known as Stevens Capital Partners, continued to find excellent opportunities in the 2000s as well. 3 of their investments include the following. In 2001, Stevens invested in Hotchkiss and Wiley, a Los Angeles-based, value-oriented investment management firm. H&W currently has approximately $21 billion under management. In 2007, Stevens invested in Sexing Technologies, a worldwide leader in sexed semen and embryo production in the livestock industry. ST is well known around the globe as one of the top sources for assistance in locating and exporting quality semen, embryos, and live cattle from the United States. In 2010, Stevens helped to create Halifax Media. Based in Daytona, FL. Halifax owns and operates 33 newspapers, primarily in the Southeast. In February 2015, Stevens Media LLC was sold to New Media Investment Group of New York for $102.05 million in cash. The sale included 8 daily newspapers and 65 weekly publications in 7 states. Businesses: Private Client Group, Capital Markets, Public Finance, Investment Banking, Research, Capital Management, Insurance and Mutual Fund Services.